Good morning. I'm Beth Kennett, and my husband Bob and our sons Tom and David run Liberty Hill Farm in Rochester, Vermont. We've been here in Rochester since 1979, but Bob and I both come from a farming background. I grew up on the farm in Alfred, Maine that had been in my mother's family since 1641. What's interesting about Alfred is for over 170 years there was also a Shaker community in Alfred that was very close to where our family farm was. When you grew up in North Alfred, you were either a Hall, a Roberts, or a Guile on one side of the mountains, and then there was a valley with Shaker Pond, and on the other side of the valley was the Shaker community. And obviously my family were not Shakers because I'm still here, so. We had a lot of interrelationships with the Shaker community. As a child growing up, my grandfather would take me to the apple orchard that the Shakers had planted there, and we would pick apples, and my grandma would make applesauce, and she'd can apples for apple pies and all kinds of apple puddings. The other thing that we received from the Shakers was the farmhouse that I grew up in had beautiful, beautiful woodwork, and a lot of the furniture of my great-grandmothers and a lot of the woodwork in the house that I grew up in had been designed by the Shakers. A lot of the recipes that I grew up with also were a part of the Shaker tradition and their style of cooking. The Shaker cooking, the New England cooking, farm cooking, for me was all one and the same. And I didn't realize until I was an adult that a lot of the recipes that I had grown up with were part of the Shaker heritage. I'm going to show you how to make Shaker pudding. Shaker pudding for me is kind of like a cheese souffle. It's a cheese bread pudding, and I grew up with this. It's just a very simple meal. You know, Sunday night supper was always simple because on Sundays dinner is the noon meal. The farm that I grew up on, Grandma would have breakfast, and then dinner was at noontime and supper was in the evening.